first thing I think when I'm asked to be on camera is, will I be represented properly? Will I be taken out of context? That's huge to me. And every time I talk to someone in the film industry, I already am concerned. I'm already worried.
So they made it seem like I believed in the voodoo shark and that it existed.
Not only is that dishonest, you're messing with that guy's career.
But you have to understand, from our perspective, we need a scientist to say it's real. That's the story. I said, well, then it's not a documentary. That you're doing a work of fiction.
Then they called back and said, well, you know, it got picked up for another season. We'd really like to have you. And I said, I feel like I was mischaracterized on your show. I'm not happy about that.
They chose just to use the first part of the interview and not use the part where I'm talking about an explanation, which is grounded in reality, and just leave it open-ended like, okay, it could have been a monster.
If you don't care what I'm saying, if you don't care that I'm an expert on these things that I've written books about, then why am I here? Don't turn me into a liar.
So there I was watching the premiere broadcast, and I see myself saying the words that I had said, but with the framing removed, and left me just saying this old disproven idea that I actually don't accept.
None of these are based on any science or anything that scientists have said. These are all completely false.
That's the most extreme example that I know of. They outright manipulated those interviews and those edits, and it's dramatic.
This paper doesn't say that at all. COVID-19 did not exist when this paper was written.
And therefore, if the news or the newspapers get it wrong, the public is going to be misled very, very rapidly.
Hi. That's amazing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jay Diamond. I'm here with Emery Emery. This is the Science Friction panel. We were hoping to have Brian Dunning here. Unfortunately, he is out with a cold. And he's coughing like crazy and couldn't make it today. So I'm going to have a conversation with the director of Science Friction, Emery Emery.
This is the face of Emery Emery.
So, Emery, were you involved with this project from the very start?
From the beginning, when Brian had the idea to go out and interview scientists to specifically talk about how badly science is maligned and misrepresented in the media. And by media, I mean all media. In other words, by Stern, Howard Stern, king of media. I was on board instantly. I couldn't wait to start shooting interviews and work on this film.
So is there a specific incident or set of incidents that prompted this?
Yes. I'm speaking now for Brian, and I can tell you that those set of incidences are every stinking time that brilliant man had to watch science being represented in the media is the answer to your question. Every time, with rare exception. You know, science has never, ever, ever been well represented in the media. There were a few safe bastions of safe and true and accurate, as well as it could be accurate information. You know, there was a magazine, a periodical. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it was purely devoted to accurate science reporting.
I think you're thinking of the Weekly World News.
Well played, my friend. And that brings us to humor in skepticism. So yeah, I used to subscribe to this periodical and Omni magazine.
Oh, sure.
You know, and it's not even. I don't think it's that anymore. I don't think it is what it was anymore. I don't think
Omni's around anymore.
Yeah, I don't think it's around, is it? I think it became something worthless and then it died. But you know, there used to be a few places you could rely on decent information with regard to science, and that seems to not exist anymore, other than at a skeptics convention.
Well, now hang on a second. So you interview some very good science journalists in this film. People like
did.
Simon Singh, who's a personal
One
hero
of my
of mine,
favorites,
right?
He's amazing.
So in the same way that you're painting, bad media paints all skeptics into one corner, are you painting the media all into one corner?
Oh, well, first of all, yes. There's no question. Our movie is actually pretty fair with regard to the question that you're asking. And I had Matt Kirshen come in and sit for me for and do some interviews for me for the film, because he's funny as hell and he's extremely smart, and he doesn't really suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect, as far as I can tell, in any discipline whatsoever. And I really like him, and I thought he would be great. And it paid off so well, because he actually says some really important things with regard to that. He actually says, not everybody does this. And I think that's true. I think what we've shined a light on is a really horrific practice whose motives are not abundantly obvious to even those undertaking these dishonest endeavors. You know what I mean?
And the movie has a lot of really horrific anecdotes in it. There's no question.
The examples in the film, undeniably awful, of how badly science is completely butchered when it's put in the hands of Hollywood producers and editors of publications. And
now, is there a delineation there? Because there's, very clearly there's a group of people that mischaracterize science and mischaracterize evidence, and in all the ways that this film talks about. And then there's, some rational science reporting.
Sure. Well, first of all, one of the biggest problems we have, and we all kind of know of this problem, and that is the headline issue, right? The headline is not usually, no matter where you are, Facebook, Twitter, a newspaper, you name it, the headline is meant to get you to read the story. One of the problems we have in this country with politics is because of the headline problem. It's not meant to tell you any facts at all. It literally is meant to hook you. The term troll actually comes from fishing initially, where you throw a hook in the water with no bait on it necessarily, and just run the hook through the water and see who you can snag. Headlines are a troll in and of themselves, in its original form, what troll is. And so when you have people making arguments about science based on the only thing that they're aware of in terms of information available to them, the headline, who haven't read any of the articles beneath the headline, boy, disinformation and ignorance just abound as a result.
Well, and by headline, I mean, one of the things that's obvious in the movie is kind of the teasers that they use in a lot of these, ghost hunting shows and, all of these fake history shows and all of those things that just get you to go through the commercial, right?
Yeah, that's we have a really great scene, a couple of scenes in our film where scientists talk about and science communicators talk about how when they're sitting with producers and they're being interviewed for a project, how they're literally asked to say sentences that the producer knows they're going to want for these bumpers. And when they ask these experts to say these sentences, the experts are like, they understand that sentence in no way represents accurately what they know to be fact or truth or evidence-based. And so they, oftentimes will push back, and they'll, the producers, those guys, I'm among them, by the way, in the industry, they will literally say, "Don't worry about it. It's just a bumper. It doesn't matter. And they try to talk them into giving them the footage they need to tell a dishonest story, you know.
And then the honest story never comes out, as we see in your documentary.
Oftentimes, that's almost always the case in the well. That's always the case in the examples that we offer in the film.
Yeah. So I'm sure you had a lot of footage you didn't use. Was there anything that landed on the cutting room floor that you really got a kick out of?
You know, I shot an interview with a producer, and he told me everything about the kinds of work that he does. He doesn't dupe anybody, so I couldn't use it. Okay, I just made that up. Totally made that up. There's not a lot on the cutting room floor. I mean, interviews take an hour, and you end up using 10 or 15 minutes of them. But those, this is not really a film that's got a lot of cutting room floor stuff. We had to remove something that we had done on the mRNA vaccines in Japan, because Japan, much like our country, doesn't have a perfect system of a perfect legal system. And this lovely woman who was trying to stand up against the anti-vax movement actually found herself at the end of litigation as being considered, legally speaking, to have been wrong. And yeah, it's awful. It's absolutely heinous and horrific. And we from a legalistic standpoint, we couldn't let that story remain in the film because Japanese legal court had said she is liable for something. And so we had to, that ended up on the cutting room floor. But she's not wrong about her statements. She's not wrong about her facts. But that's really the only good example I can offer you of cutting room floor.
Wow. Now, you have so many great people in this film. Was there a particular interview that you really enjoyed?
Man. Well, I mean, a lot. I mean, you know, we interviewed James
He's the
Randi.
best in the film.
Right. We interviewed James Randi, Stephen Novella. We got Dave Anderson, who you don't know by name, but is an amazing interview. We have Feder. What is Feder? Ken Feder. To me, he is the soul, and I don't believe in the soul, by the way. Forgive me for being loose with my language. I always get upset when they call it the God particle, and here I am calling it a soul. He is the soul of our film. That man is a superhero. He is the best story in the film for me, because when Ken Feder talks about being told that please give us this stuff that we need to make this lie about what was it? Atlantis. You know, his literal area of expertise, the apex of his knowledge is about this myth of Atlantis, and he didn't appear in their film because he said, I can't do this. And that's to me, you know, that's the only, you know, winning moment in the whole film is one man said, I'm not gonna let you use me to tell your lies. And so,
well,
Ken
it's interesting
Feder,
though. You have people like Stephen Novella talking about going on Dr. Oz.
That's correct,
and that's a fascinating story.
Yes, it is.
So, what are the lessons that we as skeptics can take away from this?
Okay, you just mentioned Dr. Oz, and you mentioned Novella going on his show. That if you take nothing else away from our film, please take this: do not vote for Dr. Oz. If you can walk away and go, I think all that is bullshit, but I'm not voting for Dr. Oz, and I will be happy with the experience that you walked away with. The truth of the matter is, all joking aside, by the way, if you think I'm joking about not voting for Dr. Oz, I am not joking about that, even though I presented it in the classic joke form. Here is the deal. The truth of the matter is, we aren't ever probably going to figure out a way to stop snake oil salespeople. And I don't just mean Dr. Oz. I thought of that phrase because we're on Dr. Oz right now, but it's all snake oil that we're talking about in our film. Dr. Oz is a specific kind of snake oil salesman, but so is Oprah.
So then after looking at all of these interviews, do you think that skeptics should cautiously go on some of these shows, should never go on these shows? How do we work it?
I think if you're a skeptic and you're
who's editing, you understand this better than anyone.
I do. We call it, excuse me. I think I've caught Brian's cough. I'm an editor. I understand that I could literally, if I have an hour of someone talking, I can make them into a racist, a sexist, a misogynist. I can make them into a murderer, an admitted murderer. I mean, with Franken-cutting, I can literally make someone seem like a serial killer if I really want to. That's the power of the edit. I use my powers for good. I wish more of Hollywood would use their powers for good, because I don't know why we don't understand. We producers and directors in Hollywood don't understand that you can make a project that is factual and entertaining as easily as you can make a dishonest one. So when it comes to the sciences, I sure would like to see some people step up to the plate and go, that movie is right, Brian is right, Emery is right, let's work that way. That's the most I could hope for that could come from this film.
Coming back to the other end of the camera, right? So as skeptics, you're talking to a couple hundred skeptics here. What do we do?
So first of all, as skeptics, we have to talk to our friends, families, lovers, and partners. We have to talk to the people in our life, and we have to get them to watch movies of this kind, the one I've made. We have to get them to understand that, when I was raised, by the way, I'm interrupting myself here, but forgive me. When I was younger, I was raised to be told that don't believe everything you read. And I don't know how I was raised to be told that, because I wasn't raised by exceptionally intelligent, science-minded people. But I did pick that up. I knew somehow it was instilled in me, don't believe everything that you read or see on television. Somehow that made it into my mind. And the more we do that with young people, the better off we are as a society. And the more we do that with the elderly and the rest of the adults in the world, the more we get them to understand how these processes can work to deceive, the better off we are.
So then what do we do about it? As skeptics, we're given an offer to go on Dr. Oz.
Okay. You that is an individual choice. I support anybody who takes it. I support anybody who gets duped by it. And I support anybody who figures out how to shine a light on that problem while being part of that problem. That really is the answer to that question, the best I can offer.
Wow. Just a quick reminder to our audience that every one who's registered for this conference has access to Science Friction for free for the next couple of weeks. If you go onto the links that we've sent you, there's a code on there that will link into Vimeo. You go to rent, you use the voucher, and it's free to you for a couple of weeks.
I just clicked on it and it's working perfectly.
Excellent. That's what I wanted.
Prior to today, the film was available on Prime Video and it was available on Tubi. And I was able to do a joke, which was the only problem you have to figure out is to be or not to be. And now I guess the joke still works, because apparently we just got picked up by Apple TV. I'm announcing this for the first time. This is a national announcement that we are now on a third platform, which will become available at Apple TV's leisure. So they picked up our product They are putting it on Apple TV, and we have no clue when it will start appearing to be available there. Right now, if you go to Apple TV and search, it'll offer it to you in Tubi television.
And of course, after the 2-week free viewing that you get with registration for this conference, you can watch it on either of those, any of those platforms.
Tubi, it's free because they put ads in, and Prime Video, I think it's $1.99. I mean, come on, half a latte, go watch the movie.
Well, and when skeptics are watching this film, what do you want them to tell their friends?
Well, I want you to get your friends who aren't skeptic-minded or science-minded to understand that, and this is ironic when you stop and think about it, humor warning, to understand that when you watch something on television or even in film, you really don't know whether or not the claims that are being asserted are valid in any way, shape, or form. So you have to use your skills of deduction. You have to use your skills of reason and logic, and you have to go research things. If you walk away from a film and you go and you have an idea that's new, but the first thing you should think is, was I just informed accurately? And the second thing you should do is to start looking for corroborating, reliable sources for the ideas that you just walked away with, to find out whether or not you've been informed accurately. My mother called the other day and she said, "Did you see this thing about UFOs on Netflix?" And I go, "Which of the horrible things are you talking about?" And
Where do you start?
The title. Yeah. She gave me a title and I grabbed it and I saw that it was just absolute hokum baloney crap. Geez, I'm 58. I said hokum and baloney in the same sentence. And so I was just trying not to say shit. I've blown it. But the irony I was alluding to earlier, though, is, I'm asking you to go watch my movie and trust that I'm giving you accurate information. And you don't have to trust that I'm giving you accurate information. If you really care about the truth and facts, you can confirm by really just understanding how to look up information online that's reliable. And by the way, as a rule of thumb, anything that ends in Chan is not a reliable source of information. Put that right there in the back of your mind. Keep it filed. Always remember, make it a mantra. If Chan is in the word, I probably am being misinformed. That's all I'm saying. But there are reliable ways to search the internet to find accurate information and not get sucked into, a QAnon nightmare and find yourself being filled with absolute mis and or disinformation. That is actually a skill all of us should try to cultivate and master. And most of us never even think about whether or not we're good at discerning information as accurate or inaccurate.
Excellent. Well, Emery, this is just such a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed watching it. I'm telling other people to go watch it. I hope everyone in our audience has a chance to see it through this free preview. Thank you so much for creating it.
Well, thank you so much for having us here to talk about it. And it's been a wonderful day being here at Skeptical 2022 without having to drive all the way up to the northern part of this huge state.
So it's just it's kind of unfortunate that Brian couldn't be here, but I did want to give a little plug for his next project that he's working on.
Well, we just touched on it a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah. If you go on to Indiegogo, he's working on the movie that they don't want you to see, the UFO movie that they don't want you to see. I've got it on the screen right now. So they're funding this project right now, and it's all about UFOs. And much like this film, I think, trying to dispel a lot of the myths that are getting out there in the media.
Am I going to run you over time if I launch into a small diatribe?
Please.
Okay, I can do this. All right, good. So here's the bottom line. We are in an age, again, we've already been through. We are repeating history right now because the UFO craze is on fire all over again. It had almost died away, but then the anti-vaxxers came along and said, no, there's nothing wrong with polio. Don't worry about it. Just don't take your vaccines. I don't know how you vaccinate against this kind of cycle, but we are back in a cycle. And, with the government releasing images that they say they can't explain, all they're really proving is government doesn't work well. They aren't proving that aliens have made it to don't fall for the most fundamentally obvious, easily duping concept that if you see something in the sky or have evidence of something in the sky that can't be explained, there are monsters from other planets driving whatever that thing in the sky is, because usually that thing in the sky is a balloon. Usually that thing in the sky is a hoax. More often than not, you are looking at hoaxes. That's important. There has never, ever been a crop circle that wasn't a hoax. The same can be said to be true about nearly every example that we're offered of things in the sky. The stuff that we're being fed right now from government, I don't know why they're spilling it out to us. I wish I understood why, but they are spilling out a whole new set of data that is in no way evidence of aliens. It is only evidence of ignorance.
But Emery, that's no moon.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
So thank you so much for joining us. Please, everyone, watch Science Friction and go and take a look at the UFO movie that they don't want you to see. I think it's going to be as good as this movie. So check it out. Thank you all for joining us. Take care.
Thank you, Emery. Diamond. Not in the rough.